Hey everybody, welcome to Localite. John Compton here. And with me in the studio today we have Victor Johnson. Now you may be familiar with his music. If not, you probably have heard his name. He's certainly been a fixture on the music scene here in the Columbia Gorge for quite a few years. So Victor, it's great to have you on. It's nice to actually finally get to meet you in person. I've read about you and I've gone to your concerts and heard you play at all kinds of different functions, but never actually had the chance to sit down and talk with you.
Yeah, well, thanks. I'm happy to be here.
Well, we appreciate it. So tell us a little bit about who you are. I mean, who are you as a musician? How did you get involved in doing this professionally?
Well, I'm from the Dalles, and I kind of grew up in this house here, and my mom was kind of famous for bringing people to the house who were musicians, and so there were always kind of music parties happen at my house. So I was just always kind of around house music as a kid growing up, and not real concerts, but just people making music together. So for me, it was really a natural thing that people did. And a lot of times, this is like 70s, so it's lots of parties going on, I suppose. Sure. And sometimes the music would go pretty late at night, and I would end up going to bed, but I didn't want to stop being part of the music, so I'd sneak out of my bed and crawl into the hallway and kind of sleep by the heating vent, so I could listen to the music kind of coming up through the ductwork like a radio.
Oh, really?
So almost, a lot of times I was falling asleep to people making music, and so it was a real natural thing for me. And I don't know exactly how I became like a professional, but it just seemed like a natural fit and something I always wanted to do. Matter of fact, it seemed like something I was supposed to do. I didn't.
Almost a calling for you.
Yeah, it was like breathing. It wasn't something it was something I had to do.
Yeah.
It was just kind of part of me. It was more, how do I figure out how to get paid than what am I going to do kind of thing.
Yeah. You didn't have to work at it. It just naturally came to you.
Well, I think the desire was very natural, but I worked very hard. I was one of those kids that practiced. I started late. I probably didn't start till a teenager. I made for lost time. I'd practice like 12 hours a day. I'd get up and practice in the morning and then go to school, come home at lunch and practice, and go back to school and practice some more. And my mom would slide some food under my door, and I'd practice till it was time for bed. And then when everybody was in bed, I used to go out into the car and practice, so I wouldn't bother people while they were sleeping. So I pretty much practiced all the time when I was younger, not so much anymore.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of hard work, but it was a real natural.
But it was a natural, it didn't feel like work because it was naturally, you were motivated to do it.
Exactly.
So, what were some of your inspirations?
Musically, I listened to a lot of old folk and blues players, being raised by a bunch of hippies and kind of that folk blues revival area. So like Mississippi John Hurt, Reverend Gary Davis, Leadbelly, Woody Guthrie, of course. All that kind of stuff was, but my mom was pretty eclectic too. I remember like Isaac Hayes' Black Moses and all those really cool Led Zeppelin albums, and it's a great time for music. Leon Redbone, all that kind of stuff. So
well, early on, as you started to realize you were going to be able to move this in the direction of a profession, tell me a little bit about how that happened.
Yeah, it was kind of interesting because I felt like I was a singer-songwriter. I was kind of a serious musician. I wrote about feelings and things like that, and it just always seemed like I was swimming upstream. And there's a lot of people trying to do that. And if you want to be a singer-songwriter, you're going to compete with Paul Simon and Bob Dylan, and there's so many amazing songwriters. It's tough. But after my daughter was born, I started playing like these kids' tunes, and it was real natural. I just played for my daughter and the kids around the neighborhood, and I ended up just very naturally started playing some kids' music, and it just kind of took off, and it was pretty amazing. Instead of swimming upstream, it was like all the doors opened up, and I was going with the flow all of a sudden. So it seemed pretty obvious to me that was really what I was supposed to be doing.
Yeah. And definitely I know that you've had a lot of influence on kids' music, and I want to talk to you about that a little bit later, but the Americana Songwriting Academy, if I said that right, what is that about? I'm not familiar. Tell us a bit about that.
Yeah, it's a really neat thing that they do. It's a couple days before the Sisters Folk Festival in Sisters, Oregon, and it's a 3-day songwriting camp. And so it's at this really neat place called Caldera, and it's an artist retreat kind of place. I think it's owned by Dan Wyden, like Wyden and Kennedy Advertising Agency.
Oh, yeah, they're in Portland.
It's amazing. Yeah, they've done like the Nike ads and a lot of that stuff. So it's his own private place. It's a private lake with a giant hall and teepees, and they do camps for kids. And so kids come from like the underprivileged kids or inner city kids, and then they do a songwriting camp at the end of the summer, and it's for everyone, adults and kids. And I've just been really lucky to be part of that the last few years, and it's an amazing experience.
Awesome. So, I know your philosophy behind music, you're transforming lives through music, is somewhat your philosophy, if I understood correctly. What do you mean by that?
That's a good question.
I mean, I would assume that, I know when I hear a song that resonates with me, it's something that it stirs something in me. Mm-hmm. But as an artist like yourself, what does that mean to you? Where are you coming from when you write something?
Well, when I write something, I'm just trying to connect with someone, mostly at an emotional level, because that's where people really feel things in the heart. There's a lot of clever songwriters, and sometimes it's fun to be kind of clever and connect with the mind, but really, I want to connect at the heart level with someone. And that's where it really starts from. If I can share some kind of time or connection with someone for a little while, or leave an impression on someone, that's a great feeling.
Absolutely.
It's really a great feeling.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Very cool. Well, I would understand that. I don't know if I would understand, but I could certainly hope to understand how it would feel to be able to, leave an impact on somebody, and music certainly seems to do that. We're going to continue the conversation here in just a moment, so don't go anywhere. We'll be back with more of Victor Johnson.